Captain's log, stardate 52460.3. We've picked up a distress signal from an unidentified alien vessel caught in a subspace gravitational eddy. The ship is badly damaged and the life form aboard appears to be in critical condition. Despite limited information about the species, we've transported it to sickbay. The doctor believes he can help, but treating an unfamiliar alien biology this complex will push the limits of our medical database. I've authorized him to explore unconventional means of consultation. Hopefully the decision won't come back to haunt us. Permission to come aboard granted. Welcome back, fellow travellers of the Final Frontier. I'm Michael Wilson, the host of this here podcast, and you've just beamed into the next stop on our ongoing mission, a deep dive series exploring the tangled legacies of the Cardassians and Bajorans across the Star Trek universe. This week, we're trading wormholes for warp drives as we shift to the far reaches of the Delta Quadrant, where Voyager's crew stumbles into a medical emergency that forces them to confront a ghost from Cardassia's past. That's right, we're reviewing Nothing Human. And to do it, I've reassembled our trusty Voyager Delta Quadrant away team. They helped me dissect maneuvers, and now they're back on the bridge. So first up, science officer and resident voice of reason, the ever-wise Lady Vean. Welcome.
Hi, Mike. I'm really excited to talk about this episode. I was really surprised you picked this one because there's so many other Cardassian-centric episodes that, deal with more familiar characters and recurring characters. So to get to talk about Krell Moset, there's a lot to say there.
Yeah, I thought it would make an interesting debate. And as you say, there's a lot of Cardassian episodes, but not that many on Voyager. We already covered a Seska episode, so
true.
It was a stretch. I mean, I could have done Dreadnought, but it's still slightly less interesting.
But a good one.
Anyhow, manning the tactical station once again, it's our strategist with a heart, the always incisive John Adams. Welcome back, John.
Oh, hello. I'm thrilled to be here.
Are you happy to be discussing this episode as well? Is it one that you're aware
of?
I
am. I love this episode.
Oh, cool. Fair enough. Awesome. Well, So anyway, strap in, replicate yourself a Ractagino, and brace for ethical turbulence, because this episode is less about the alien on the table and more about the ghosts in the database. Just as well, given how poor the alien on the table looks. But anyway, we're going to decide if Nothing Human is a medical marvel or a moral misfire. We'll see what we all think a little later. But first, we are going to dive into the little introductory section for a little warm-up in the section we call Hailing Frequencies Open.
Hailing Frequencies Open, sir.
So, I was going to kind of just skip this week because we've kind of covered both of you guys' kind of Star Trek favorite things and getting to know yous. But then I had to warn Vean I was going to bring this up yesterday because, John, I know you've seen the Starfleet Academy promos and probably the trailer that came out yesterday from Comic-Con at time of recording.
Yes.
It'll be a few weeks later when this goes out, but I just thought I have to get some thoughts and opinions from you on that because I'm really hyped after seeing all of that stuff.
I'm pleasantly surprised. I had zero interest in the show. Zero.
Right. Okay.
The only thing I don't like is that it's set in the 32nd century.
Oh, I'm here for that. I'm happy with that, to be honest. Yeah.
I'm not happy about that, but I'm a huge fan of Paul Giamatti.
Uh-huh.
And I know that he's going to be one of the instructors. And
he's the villain, actually, of the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, it does. It looks pretty good. And to answer your question that you didn't really say, Paul Giamatti is the villain of the show, and he's playing a half Klingon, half Tellarite, supposedly.
Well, here's my thing, because I also watched the trailer.
Okay, cool.
I don't know how I feel about the show yet. I mean, obviously, it could be amazing. I don't know. Again, I'm always like, oh, here we go. We have to include some legacy characters. We can't just move the fuck on. But my thing is, it could be really interesting. But what is with all the orange lighting? Like the gray orange skies, the orange lights inside of the academy, the orange lights here. It was really off-putting to me. The lighting.
That's interesting because I hadn't even noticed that.
I saw it in all the promotional photos I saw too. I'm like, why is everything?
Oh, you're right. They're in those promo things.
Yeah.
I only really noticed it on the supposedly the starship that's going to be their kind of home base, which is a weird concept anyway. That it's kind of a ship that just docks and becomes, a big building in the academy. So I thought it was just the way the bridge of that ship looked, but maybe I'm wrong. But it could be a reaction to Discovery being so dark potentially in the first couple of years. And they're like, look, we're bright. I like a lot of what I saw. I didn't mind the kind of legacy references, although the wall full of only people that we've known over the years is perhaps a bit of overkill that I could have done without. I think somebody said, so apparently nobody has ever died that we've never heard of in like
That's
700 or
hilarious.
800. Yes, I was like, yeah.
We do learn that what's his name?
Kim, is that what you
yes, yes.
An admiral.
Harry's finally an admiral,
Oh, what a load of horse shit.
He deserves it.
If they were gonna bring back one pet character though to play like an instructor, I'm glad it was the Doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, obviously
agree.
it wouldn't make any sense in the 32nd century for anybody else to still be alive, but I like that.
Well, I mean, you could create a hologram of anybody. They did hologram Janeway in Prodigy, so theoretically you could just be, it's an instructor, but it's a hologram of, I don't know, anyone you want.
And to tie it into the episode, you can make a hologram of anybody in 30 seconds flat, apparently. So.
Yes, that's a really good...
don't worry, I made a point of that. That's in my behind the scenes. Not only can you make a hologram in 30 seconds flat, you can apparently only do it when it's convenient, because in Message in a Bottle, they found themselves completely incapable of doing it. The Doctor's gone, we need to create a new Doctor. I can't just do this. It took all the engineers in Starfleet years to build the EMH. Harry, can you do a Cardassian hologram? Yeah, sure. Knock it out. Why not? Yeah, I did find that interesting. Going back quickly to Starfleet Academy, I found it interesting that one of the characters is a hologram, who apparently the Holos have like full sentient rights in that century. So she's apparently like a newborn, only a few days old, having been created and going to the academy. And I was like, that could be very interesting. So
it could be.
The Doctor, And I love that we're seeing Tig Notaro, more of her again after Discovery, because she's so good as Jet Reno.
I like her.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean,
I think we'll see kind of sums it up for me as well.
Yeah.
I like what I see though, and I love having Holly Hunter in Star Trek. She's such a good actress, and so her being the lead and hearing her deliver the whole boldly go when no one has gone before.
I liked that. I did like that, and I like her.
When we were getting ready to watch Nothing Human last night, I was catching up Mr. Lady Vean on the news, and I'm like, oh, and the trailer for the new Star Trek came out. He goes, there's another Star Trek coming out. He's like, isn't Strange New Worlds their new one? I'm like, dude, there's like 8.
That's more than that.
they found an IP that works, and they're gonna write it into the ground.
Oh, they are.
So we'll close the hailing frequencies section there, and we'll move to the next section. I don't need to explain it to either of you guys because you've been through it before, the hit or miss section.
What about my performance? I'm not a drama critic.
And if you're unfamiliar with it, I'm sure you'll pick it up as we go along. We've done this multiple times now. I'm basically going to put things on screen, ask if they're a hit or a miss, debate it back and forth, and some of them might be to do with Cardassians and Bajorans because that's the sort of episodes that we're covering. And again, this season I've kind of just been coming up with numbers to do it lottery style, and I have 9 today. So let's see. Vean, I'm going to let you go first. Pick a number, please, between 1 and 9.
6.
Ooh, 6 is an interesting one. Although I'm not sure if you're going to have any thoughts on it, but we'll see. 6 is a ship connected to the theme of this series. Hit or miss for the Bajoran Raider. And it's on screen if you want to know what it looks like. So, Vean, up to you first.
I mean, it reminds me of NASA. I mean, it kind of...
Really?
I mean, there's something very classic spaceship about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings either way. It's not really, I'm not looking at it going, wow, what a gorgeous ship. But it's not ugly. I mean, it's functional, which I think that suits the Bajorans.
Yeah, true enough. Fair enough.
I mean,
Well,
not in the sense that they are kind of simplistic in terms of not simplistic like, oh, they're stupid. I mean,
no,
simplistic.
I get what you're saying.
They're
not going. They're going for substance, not style.
Practical, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not going to have developed state-of-the-art tech in the middle of an occupation when there are species that weren't barely spacefaring anyway. Yeah. You know, they had solar sailors not that long ago. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm gonna probably call that a mild hit from you then, since you didn't at least go, well, that's ugly and stupid. So, and from you, that's high praise. So,
Indeed it is.
So what about you, John? What do you make of the Bajoran raider?
I totally agree. I don't really have anything to add. It's, it doesn't do anything for me one way or another. I mean, it's fine. It's practical, but it's not something. Again, I also would not be like, ooh, look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. But
well, I'll kind of break the double meh to A and Z. I like this. I'm always the nerd that can talk about random things on ships. So I like the design of it. I kind of like that it's, even though I always say it's completely impractical and nonsensical to have wings and aerodynamics in space because it makes no difference.
Oh,
it looks cool.
Yeah.
And I like that there's a little bit of empty space here, that they've got like the kind of the wings connecting with a little line, and a bit of
in the back.
It's kind of, in the back it looks kind of cool. It's got a little touch to it, and I like that. I do like smaller ships. The idea that everything would have to be huge and you wouldn't have like 1 or 2 person little fighters and things, especially for as you said, a species that wouldn't necessarily be all about building fleets of ships. It's pretty cool, and it looks, as you said, ramshackle enough that feasibly it could have been built by a species that were not super technologically capable or advanced or with the resources and equipment. So I like it. It looks cool, and it's got a sort of a nice, pew-pew vibe to it. So let's just leave that and call that a hit, but not exactly a glowing hit. So that was a bit of a damn squib. So John, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 9 and hope for something better?
We'll pick 1.
Okay, 1 is definitely an odd one. I don't even know why I put this on here, but yeah.
Oh, great.
1. This is so random, and I have no idea where it came from to me, but it did. It's a character not connected to anything. Hit or miss for the Voyager character of Flotter T Water. So there we go. What did you make of this random character, John, that just came into my head?
I'm trying to remember.
It was a 1 episode thing. It was just like there was a fairy tale on the holodeck with.
Well, I think. I hated that episode, so I don't even remember the creature. So sorry, I can't throw anything at it. It looks cool. Just looking at it at the moment, I love the costume. I love the coloration. I love I love that. But I'm so sorry. That's all I can give you.
I think the fact that you don't remember it, I think, is pretty damning enough, to be honest.
I know, because I remember everything.
The episode, I hate the episode, don't remember this thing. Yeah, okay. We'll leave that there and put a pin in it for now. What about you, Vean? You're a big Voyager fan. You must.
Yes, of course, I'm going to have an opinion. And sidebar, since Naomi's on the screen, and we discussed this in a previous episode, I do believe I spotted Samantha Wildman on the bridge in Nothing Human. So she is around and
really?
working. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, just want to throw that out there.
I love it.
This is a miss, and I'll tell you why. As some of you who are listening may know, I was in theater. I was going to do film. I was going to go to Juilliard. I specifically wanted to make films and stuff for children because I don't believe that you have to talk down to kids and pander to them. And I think a lot of children's education or entertainment, that especially is focused on being educational, but not always. It's sort of dumbed down and over the top and, oh, I'm a goofy character and look at me. And kids can appreciate things a lot more than adults seem to think. And there's a theory that you can kind of show a child anything as long as there's a happy ending. And I think the swamp of sadness scene in The Neverending Story is a testament to that. We all survived that. So I think that this character is the epitome of sort of that idea that because something is made for children, it has to be simplistic and goofy and brightly colored and what's the word I'm looking for? Unsophisticated.
Okay.
And I really hate that model of children's entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. That's understandable and very successfully put.
It's always hard to tell how you feel about things.
Yeah. If I had a dime for every time I heard that.
Come off the fence. Jeez, man.
Hey, Vean, tell us how you really feel.
How do you not have a sore butt from all this fence sitting you're constantly doing? Honestly.
I will say I like Naomi, the character.
Well,
agree.
You know, a lot of people don't. I really like the character.
Oh, I have no issue with Naomi. I think she was good for what she was, and as a child actor, it's difficult to pull off.
Yeah, I really liked her.
Yeah, she was good. But yeah, no, I'm with both of you. More so, I think Vean. I didn't like this episode at all because, like you said, it reeked of adults trying to write kids' children's TV kind of thing, and yeah, oh, 24th century kids TV.
There's the Next Generation story like that too, where they're on the holodeck and there's that stupid mute character. I just hate it.
Yeah, I thought the episode was way too simplistic, like you said, and didn't really. It had a chance to do something interesting with the idea of trying to keep Naomi occupied whilst her mum might be dying somewhere, and at least finally dealing with the fact that her mum wasn't bloody looking after her. But anyway, but yeah, just the episode did nothing, and it was one of those that was like, I can imagine somebody sitting at the pitch meeting and pitching this, but then stretching it into a 45-minute episode was just like, it doesn't work at all. Yeah. And this idea is just kind of silly. It does come across, like you said, as like it would be rejected as a kid's show pitch for like Nickelodeon or Paramount or whatever. And
yeah.
No. And I just think the actor as well, Wallace Langham, I've seen in other stuff, and I know he's a decent actor, but this performance, as you said, is just too broad and silly. I'm doing a kid's character, so I've got to be over the top. And, yeah, just not a fan. Did you prefer Trevis in the episode then, Vean?
No.
Tell us how you feel, honestly.
I prefer none of it.
It's a shame because it comes before a fantastic Voyager episode as well. You get through that, you get to Timeless, and that's a great episode. But
I don't actually like Timeless.
Well, I have the power to mute you, so shush.
Okay, moving on.
That's not on the list for this week, but anyway. So back to you, Vean. Would you like to pick a number between 1 and 9?
3.
Oh, 3 is an interesting. Again, I have no idea where this comes from, but I picked it. So here we go. It's not connected to the theme, and it is another ship, which will either make you. I knew you were going to groan at that, but this is me. I always have to have some of them in there, even though you'd think I'd be running out at this point after 7 or 8 series. And as you'll see, I kind of am. So hit or miss for the Warp Delta, and it's on screen again if you'd like to see what it looks like, because you probably don't even know it. So yeah, would you say this is a hit or a miss?
Oh, that's hideous. No, that's a miss. That is horrible.
What's your issue with it?
I just look at it. It's a oh no. It looks like an empanada with 2 popsicles stuck to it.
Oh no.
Could not agree more. I could not agree more. It's absolutely horrible.
What is this from?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. This is terrible.
It's from Enterprise. It's they did an episode where they were dealing with the history of warp.
Oh, so this is like one of the first ships.
So yeah, it's like the Phoenix. Then it had Warp Alpha, which was very similar, but with added constantly attaching nacelles. And then Warp Delta, which is this one. And so yeah, it's a very early.
Sense. No. It doesn't make any sense design-wise at all.
Okay, in what way? What do you mean?
Well, you've got the bridge and everything, and then you've got this massive empanada.
That's all I'll see now.
With nothing going on that whole massive piece.
Okay, I guess. Yeah.
Really horrible.
Right. Fair enough. Okay.
I take it you disagree, Mike?
So fuck you, Mike. You must like it.
I was going to say it's a moot point, but I actually quite like it. I mean, I know that our guest Ken Sweeney, who comes on sometimes as a fan, because he put it on his actual top 10 starships list. Believe it or not. So some people really do like this. And,
it's a nothing. It's nothing.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do like it. I have the kind of Eagle Moss model of it, and it looks kind of cool, which is usually where the bias will come in. But I think I like that it's almost like a Romulan Bird of Prey-ish kind of thing from that era. It has those vibes, and if you're going to try and go simplistic, fair enough. You are right. It's kind of a lot of what seems like empty space, really. So
yeah,
that's kind of a bit of a shame. But I like the kind of triangle idea. Like I said, I know that it's stupid to think, oh, aerodynamics in space, it's pointless. But I don't know. I like the idea.
Well, you know, we can't have that talk because that would be every ship. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. so I do kind of like the fact that it's got that kind of triangularness to it, and you know that kind of feeds into what would eventually become like Voyager's social section and things like that, and it alludes to that potentially. So yeah, I mean, I would have said hit, but I'm certainly not going to argue. If both of you say miss, I'm certainly not going to be like, no, this is why it's perfect. So yeah, all right. And thanks, Vean. You've already ruined Voyager for me since I can now not see anything other than a smiley face on the deflector.
She's so happy. She's so
hilarious.
Now all I'm going to see here is an empanada with 2 popsicles.
It really is. It really is. That's perfect.
Sad thing is, you're not wrong. That's the thing. I can't even argue.
I know. Somebody had lunch when they were designing that. I don't know.
Maybe they did. Stranger things have happened. That is
how
they invented the Millennium Falcon, was because somebody took a bite out of a hamburger.
Well, and you know about the in Star Trek the motion picture, and then Star Trek 2. The station that they go to.
Oh yeah.
You know that story. It's actually it's actually the ship that they show at the beginning in the original film that's taking communications about Voyager. Yeah. They just flipped it upside down, seriously,
and it becomes regular one. Yeah, I know. I have the.
So they flipped it upside down and added a couple of things. It's amazing, actually, when you look at it. It's like, oh wow, it really is that same thing.
John, we'll do one more if you'd like to pick a number between 1 and 9, and hope not to hit the 3 we've done.
Did we already say 9?
We did not. Right. You sure about that? Because it's another ship.
No, I don't want to do another ship. 8. Okay. Did we say 8? We said 8.
Okay, 8 makes a lot of sense because 8's a character and is related to one of the species of the ongoing series that we're dealing with. This is character, not actor, by the way, before anybody kicks off. I always say that with actors. There's no reason for me to say that. So hit or miss for the character from DS9 of Lita. John, I'll let you go first.
Oh boy. How to start? I don't know.
Well, that was a deep sigh.
Huh?
Oh, okay. That was a deep sigh before you began.
I just don't. She was just never a favorite of mine. She's, I'm not a big fan of any of the Ferengi until we get to the last season of Picard, where we have an evil Ferengi. So,
well, she's not a Ferengi; she's a Bajoran, but she is.
No, I know, but she's. Isn't she she's in a relationship though with?
She does eventually marry a Ferengi. Spoiler alert!
Yeah, if you haven't seen the first DS9. Lady of Ferenginar.
Right. Yeah. So, I like her though, so that's the quandary I'm having.
Oh, right, okay. You like her, but not her eventual.
I'm not crazy about any Ferengis. I liked her. Let me just say that. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so you probably like her, but you think the writers didn't do what you.
I think she could have gotten even. I think she could have been a lot better. I liked what they gave her, but I think she could have been even more.
Yeah.
But I understand. Yeah. You got to limit because you don't have time to explore everybody's stories, and I get that. But that's just my thought. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Oh, well, what do you, Vean? What did you think of Lita?
Okay. This is complicated for me for reasons, and we'll just leave it at that because we're talking about the character.
We said character, not actor.
I know. So I just know a lot about the backstory about the character because Chase had originally auditioned for I'm stuck on Maritza because we were talking about duet. What was the name of Marta? You want to talk about a skeevy relationship? Oh my God.
Okay.
Where
Marta.
so she originally auditioned for Marta, who's the Bajoran Dabo girl who dates Chase.
Oh, right.
She did not get the role because of the age difference, obviously. But they were so impressed with Chase's performance, they said, we want to do a character. We want to bring her on. So they kind of came up with Lita for Chase.
Oh.
So they bring on Lita, and here you have what is essentially a sex worker. I know a lot of people debate whether Dabo girls are sex workers or not.
They are.
They 100% are.
Well, I can't believe there's a debate about that.
There is. People get really upset if you say
really?
That.
Oh, because that's just, they are. I'm sorry, but they are.
We can talk about the extent to which that work is unknown, right? But obviously, at the bare minimum, they're like car room showgirls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is essentially sex work. Now, I happen to believe at Quarks it probably extends beyond that, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
So here you have who is essentially a sex worker, and it's mentioned that she is doing this so she can study sociology and become a sociologist. And they kind of drop that when she gets with
I didn't even remember that.
You know what? That's right. And see, again, though, that's what I was saying about where she could have gone.
Yeah.
They made her kind of a dumb.
But because the showrunners, and not just Rick Berman, I'm talking Ira Stephen Bear, because I've heard it out of his own damn mouth. I'm talking about the writers as well. Were so deeply misogynistic. And this was the 90s. I'm not saying this stuff doesn't exist now because it does, but it's so overt. I have heard Ira Stephen Bear go the story where he goes up to Max Grodenchik and goes, we're going to give you Lita. We're going to give Lita to Rom. Like she's a thing to pass around because, oh my gosh, isn't that going to be so nice for Rom because he's the ugly, nice guy who's going to get the hot chick instead of her being with the station heartthrob, Julian Bashir. Like the way they handled it is so fucking gross. As a woman, I think Chase's performance is adorable. I think this is a character who is incredibly strong. Who is a smart woman and is not given enough credit for that because she becomes this just plaything that's passed around. Yeah. And just a prop to prop up Rom.
That's why for me, it's a shame because it's like she had such great potential there for a minute.
No.
And you thought, oh, this is interesting. She's going to go in a different direction. And then they just dumbed her down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really. Well, what can I add to that? So I'm guessing you're going to say miss overall, then probably Vean.
No, I can't call Lita a miss. I just can't because I like her so much as a character, and I think she is well performed, and I respect that. I just think it's a hit. But people need to be more cognizant of the rampant misogyny surrounding this character, including not just from men, but from the way the character is treated by other women as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I pretty much agree with all of that, and I would also say a hit, just for exactly those same reasons.
I'm with both of you in that I would say hit, but problematic hit.
Yeah.
But the thing that sucks about that is that it's not just Lita. It's very, as you said, Berman era Trek. I mean, you could level the same misogynist accusations at Deanna Troi or Seven of Nine. Or
but Mike, I have to interject here because as bad as Berman is, and as much as Berman is obviously a misogynist and a homophobe and everything else, he's not the only one. And not at all. No, but people tend to go, Rick Berman, you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, you think it was just him? It
No,
was not.
God, no.
Yeah.
That's not how TV works. You couldn't,
Yeah.
one person alone wouldn't have that level of power anyway. That's nonsense. No, I've never under any illusions that it's just, with one bad egg and it would all be fine or whatever, or, and, likewise, problematic, but gave a lot of things that I love and have to kind of reckon with that as well. I can appreciate a lot of the art that was given by a scumbag. I mean, I'm a Joss Whedon fan. I have to acknowledge I like a lot of his work. Don't like the man himself. So we have to address that straight up. But no, like with Lita, it's kind of, I think it's accidental hit, and it's more to do with the actress's performance than anything, because I didn't really, I totally
agree. Yeah.
I didn't think Chase was especially good at first. No, I really hope that's not offensive to say. I just think she wasn't particularly, I have an inkling she wasn't really hired for the acting talent, if that makes sense. And again, not to sound rude or whatever, but
well, no, I think that kind of that I understand what you're saying, and that does kind of fit into what.
Yeah, I don't think it was that
However, I thought she was quite good with what she was given.
No, I was going to say I think she really grew as an actress in the role. So by the end of the show,
she didn't have great material off the bat.
That's exactly it.
Because Chase is a phenomenal actress, and if you guys have ever had the chance to at any of the conventions watch her do her show with Max Gradinchik, where it's just the two of them, I remember the first time I heard her mimic Judy Garland's Dorothy Gale, and she came off stage, I was like, my God, you sounded just like her. Or when she does
great.
Moogie, oh God, I'm blanking on the actress's name, but Ishka, and I'm like, it was like she was here. You sounded exactly like her. It is uncanny.
That's
so
great.
She is a very, very talented actress who doesn't get enough credit for her acting ability, for sure.
Yeah, but I liked what as they developed. I know I know the problems with the kind of storyline with Rom, but I think she made it work, and she always came off as sweet.
I know.
As kind of, it could have come off really badly if she decided to play it a different way, or just wanted to rail against it and be like, "Oh, fuck this! I'm not being the prize for the ugly kid or whatever else." But she didn't. She leaned into it, and she was really sweet and made it a believable relationship. And
she did make it a believable relationship. You really felt that she loved him.
Exactly. Yeah. So cute, and like I said, I think she got better as an actress as the show went on. I think she probably said the same thing herself, if I recall. But again, if we're talking about do you want to see her acting chops or not so much see as here? Again, this is really nerdy shout out, but
Doctor Who you're gonna say Doctor Who, aren't you?
if you're a Doctor Who fan, you know all about the Big Finish audio series, and there is a Doctor Who spin-off called Vienna where she plays a kick-ass space bounty hunter. And audio, she's not relying on looks or anything because you can't see her, and it's such a different character, and she gives such a good performance as this kind of grizzled bounty hunter woman that it just goes to show she really is a good actress and can do that. And again, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please, I'm sure you can probably get it either dirt cheap or free because it's very old at this point, but it's worth checking out if you are questioning, it's only looks that got you in. No, she's actually a decent actress, so. But yeah, that was all I wanted to say. And I have to shout that out because I'm a big old nerd anyway. So I love that you even knew about that. I know she did something tangentially related to Doctor Who at some point. Right. Well, that'll conclude the hit or miss then for this week. And so we'll move on and we'll begin our analysis of the episode in question, which is, of course, Voyager's Nothing Human.
Spark analysis.
We'll dive straight in, and I will. Would you guys like to start by telling me your initial thoughts, or would you rather get my poetry corner out of the way? Because I have done it again, as predicted.
Do you start with your limerick?
Okay. Well, I have the poetry corner, as I said, ripped off completely from Garrett and Robbie over on the Delta Fires podcast. I always do a limerick and a haiku, and I don't copy theirs if they happen to have covered the episode, because I know they covered obviously all of Voyager and now quite a lot of DS9. Didn't copy theirs, didn't even listen to what theirs was or the episode about Nothing Human, because why would I? It would just color my opinion. So this is completely me, and I will say I struggled with this one. This took me a long time because it's a difficult episode to try and get succinctly summed up or try and bring any kind of levity to, but we'll see if I managed. So yeah, you want limerick first for your hand, so here we go. Dive straight in. My limerick summary for Nothing Human is this. Bellana needs a creature removed, A vile history can't be disproved. Is there justification for the cure's application when the patient hasn't even approved?
Very nice.
I think that's quite good.
Yeah. I decided to abandon levity and just give you one of my immediate gripes with the episode.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, the issue of consent is my immediate gripe with this episode. Janeway, are you really allowed to just override a patient that tells you they don't want treatment?
I guess the captain is.
I'm not convinced, to be honest. Pretty sure medically, if you say you don't want treatment, you're not allowed to go, well, I outrank you, so fuck you.
That's right.
But yeah.
I think if they were in the Alpha Quadrant, that would have had a different outcome. But being stranded and going, well, shit, I don't have, I can't just send off for another chief engineer.
Well, right. That's,
you had a deputy chief engineer right there. Let Terry do the freaking job.
That's the crux of that. Yeah.
I don't buy that argument. That's a very convenient way to disguise Janeway acting out of character and suddenly forgetting that she's all about morals, to be perfectly honest.
Well, she does that a couple of times through the series,
It's not that she forgets about morals. It's that she's stuck in a moral dilemma and there's no right answer.
Yeah. That's a much better way of putting it.
Well, then it would have been nice to show that as opposed to her ending the episode with, oh, well, fuck you if you don't like me saving your life, B'Elanna. As opposed
I
to
agree that the last scene
choice.
is not the last scene is a disappointment for me. I really think that could have been done in such a better way.
I hate that last scene with there's still demons in the air. Is there? Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a different opinion.
Oh boy!
Should we get there now, or should we talk about?
You may as well. I mean, you may as well. I still have
She has to assert her authority.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the captain. Get over it.
Yeah, I do. I think
I get that. I totally get that. But couldn't they have written it better?
Yeah.
Especially
when you look at some of the other shit that she lets fly and some of the other times that she's. And I'll be honest, it's really uncomfortable because she always seems to let the men away with being, oh, I'm so sorry, but I have to do it. And it's always the women, like B'Elanna here or 7 of 9 in the episode Prey, that she's like, broke the rules. I will coming down on you like a ton of bricks. And it's kind of like, why only the women, Janeway? What's going on here?
But you know what? You got to go back. I mean, to what? It's really a huge thing because, again, you don't have another engineer.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like we always say, they're supposed to also be a bit of a family. They're all each other have. And like you said, would it have really killed them to write it as, look, B'Elanna, I wasn't prepared to let you die because, yes, I need a chief engineer, but also you're a good friend of mine, and I wasn't prepared to let you go. And if that was wrong, well, I did it for a friend kind of thing, as opposed to just like, look, I did it because I'm allowed. I'm the captain.
But she does kind of do that in Barge of the Dead, where she's like, B'Elanna's like, I only have one warp or whatever it was, and she's like, well, I only have one B'Elanna Torres.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not this episode.
No, but here's the thing. They have sort of and it's addressed more in Barge of the Dead, and we talked about that, but there is a sort of motherly relationship there.
Yeah.
And sometimes as a mother, you have to be the bitch. I mean, it's just the way it is. And as a woman, Mike, she has to assert her authority because it is constantly going to be undermined.
It's a difficult one to pass, but I will say if that is your argument that the whole, well, it's a mother-daughter relationship, maybe that's what I'm balking against. I don't like the idea that you can say I didn't give you consent for something and you just overruled it because you think you have the right to do that.
Well, the doctor went along with it. I mean, his whole thing is first do no harm, and he's the one who should, when it was, look, when we had wait, let me finish my thought. When it was Tuvix, and she said, separate them, and he went, no, I'm sorry, he doesn't want to be separated. I can't do that. And so you have that same situation here, but the doctor does it. So, if we're talking about inconsistencies.
I'm not just leveling that at Janeway. I think a lot of characters in this episode act horribly out of character. I think it's Jerry Taylor's worst script, and she's normally so much better at writing in general and characters specifically. But
like a dagger in my heart, Mike. I love this episode.
Yeah, I do.
I knew you did, and there's lots to like, but the characterization really pisses me off. With a couple of exceptions. Okay,
there is a lot of you have to have a suspension of disbelief for this episode just because of the hologram situation. But it's important to let those things go in this case because the conversation that is the crux of the episode is so important.
I don't think that gives you leeway to write your characters wrong, to be honest.
I don't think they wrote them wrong. I don't.
I think that they did. There's a couple of them that I think they got, standard and to the point. And obviously Paris, I would say, okay, is acting exactly as I would expect Tom Paris to act. That's what he would do. He'd be kind of selfish about it. He wouldn't really see much beyond Save My Wife, etc. Okay. But we'll get into it. I'm going to break it down a bit when we get into the writing. But before we get too far into that, I do also have to give you my haiku for the episode, because otherwise,
I thought you were going to do that last.
No, I always forget if I say I'm going to do it. So I'm going to get it out of the way early. So, So my haiku, again, it took absolutely ages, and I tried to, in the end, I think I abandoned, I have a little bit of levity, but I abandoned that to try and kind of sum up the episode. And again, there's a slight passive-aggressive dig in here as well. So anyway, my haiku is as follows. Rubber beast attacks. Cardi Mengele helps out. Is that ethical? So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
That kind of sums up my thoughts.
Not the ringing endorsement.
Mike.
You what, Vean?
I said you just love using your slurs.
I have so few syllables. Cardassian is too many. I could have said spoonhead. At least I shortened it to something vaguely.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I interrupted you.
No. I was just saying, not quite the rousing endorsement of the first piece, but there you go.
Fair enough. So yeah, I have to say, well, I'll probably wait and bring that up with the writing as well, because I have some behind the scenes stuff. So I'll probably give us a bit of a break and jump into that. And again, if you guys want to, comment on anything, add anything, do feel free to jump in at any point. So yeah, this episode was an effort to bring the Cardassian species onto Voyager, as they'd been featured more prominently in Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Writer Jerry Taylor explained we could not simply import them into the Delta Quadrant, so this was an opportunity to use a very interesting alien species, and because they were so universally reviled, sorry, Vean, we kind of put that holodeck creature into the guise of someone whose expertise was needed to save a life. Okay. The character of Krell Masset is reminiscent of the Nazi doctor Josef Mengele, who was notorious for performing bizarre and barbaric experiments on concentration camp inmates during World War II. In fact, Masset was actually somewhat modeled on this historical figure. Quote, we talked about Mengele, and that was sort of a model there, reflected Jerry Taylor. Now, we had no compunctions, but we wanted to provide a grayer area of someone who, in his mind, was very justified in doing this because the greater good would outweigh the cost to the people that he was experimenting on. And this is where I will chime in and say, I do remember you telling me, Vean, that you have at least one friend or associate who genuinely argued that this was nothing to do with Mengele.
Oh, that wasn't a friend. That was some asshole online.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That was
I got into an argument with, who was like, Americans are too stupid and they're not educated and they don't know who Josef Mengele is. And I'm like, yeah, just because you weren't paying attention in school doesn't mean the rest of us don't know that this is obviously discussing Josef Mengele and unethical means of scientific research.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you told me that at the time, I was like, that is such nonsense, because I'm not going to pretend I'm a genius, but I was aware of this even when I first watched the episode as a kid. It's a fairly notorious case.
Absolutely.
And pretty well known. But to that person, I will just say, even if you doubt, myself and Vean, literally Jerry Taylor herself is on record as saying it is based on Mengele. So shut up. Basically. Moving on. On one occasion, Robert Picardo admitted he was unsure whether in this episode his character of the Doctor errs by deleting the Krell Masset holoprogram, but also asked several rhetorical questions that implied he tended to believe that the Doctor had. The idea of an infamous Cardassian doctor experimenting on Bajorans began as an idea for the Deep Space Nine 6th season episode Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. Interesting. The original concept was
actually. Sidebar.
No, go for it.
In the beta canon, it does tie into that episode because when Dukat meets Tora Naprem, he decides he's done with Kira Maru and turns her over to Krell Masset, and that's how Kira's mother dies.
Oof, that is rough.
Yeah.
Yikes. Oh boy, that's dark. That really is darker than death. Anyway, the original concept was to do a DS9 episode inspired by Nazi Dr. Josef Mengele, who was notorious for performing bizarre barbaric experiments. In the episode, the ghosts of Bajoran children were to begin appearing on the station, and the crew would come to believe that they are the ghosts of children killed by a Cardassian scientist during the occupation who carried out research on them. However, it turns out they aren't ghosts at all. The Doctor was in fact sending the children into the future to gather information for the Obsidian Order. However, the writers couldn't make the story work. No.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, because it's freaking terrible. And it was abandoned at the last minute. Elements of the draft story, however, survived in the script of DS9 episode Things Past. So we'll move to the writing and the plot, because we've already started touching on that. So do you have any initial thoughts on the writing or the plot that you wanted to share with us? John, I'll ask you, because I don't think we've let you quite dive in just yet.
Sure. I think one thing I will say, you guys, I mean, we have to remember that obviously certain things are just not going to make sense because they're writing an episode and, you know, they're going to let certain things go because they want the episode to read a certain way. Mm-hmm. I really love this episode, primarily because of David Clennon.
Yes,
I'm just, I've always, since I was a kid, watching 30-something. You guys probably don't even remember that.
Yes,
show.
We do. We're not
before my time.
I don't remember how old. I don't know how old you guys are. 30
well, I'm 42, but I'm also British, so
right.
I don't think we got 30-something.
Was a very, very American show in the 80s. I was, and he was they brought him in as the primary bad guy, corporate bad guy, and so he had like a 4-season arc on that show. That's how, and I was like 17 at the time, and so I just fell in love with his acting. Then of course when I finally saw The Thing, and he's in The Thing, you know. Oh yeah, he's the one that blows up. He's the one that's always smoking pot and talking about, you know, the aliens are everywhere, man, you know, they're all coming down. That's David Clennon.
Okay.
So yeah, I was thrilled that he was going to be on the episode. I did a lot of study of the Holocaust and survivors when I was in college. Okay. I got to meet with some survivors.
Wow.
And talk with, it was amazing. I've been
was obviously when you were allowed to still do that, I guess. So.
Oh God, don't get me started on that. And you know, I took a couple of courses on literature of the Holocaust, and you know, so I had a deep interest in the subject anyway, and it is such a critical question. You know, what do you do? The research was done. It's a crime against everything, the way that the research was done. But you have these results now. So what do you do? Do you abandon those results because of where they came from? Or do you at least pull something good, quote unquote, good from everybody's misery and horror by saying, we can use this in the future? Obviously, that's the crux.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say at this moment where I stand on it because it switches.
Yeah. Okay. And it is a difficult question, you know.
I think that's what this episode, and this is what Voyager does better than other series. I'm just going to say, I think Voyager is, of all the Star Trek that I have seen, the best at addressing these really complex issues without giving a clear cut. And here's the correct answer. Yes. And I think Deep Space Nine can get into the grays, but they always kind of come to the end with like, this is the decision we made and it's the right decision.
Yeah.
And TNG certainly does that,
yes.
As does the original series.
Yes.
And with Voyager, they go, not just in this episode, I just think this is probably the best one, is that they go, here's this really complex issue. Everybody has different opinions. And at the end of the day, we're not sure if what we did is right or not.
I totally agree with you. And I do think that the writing on that on Voyager, addresses that better than any of the other shows.
I agree with you about the writing, but I don't think this is the best version. I think the best version of this is Latent Image by absolutely
God.
miles.
Okay, I take it back. Latent Image is one of the best episodes of Star Trek.
Well,
and, Robert Picardo in that episode. Oh,
that
so
is.
amazing.
I just got my chills down my arm when you said that. I did. That is just.
But to piggyback off of what John was saying, I mean, there is stuff in the script that you just have to let it go because you only have 45 minutes to tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, to a degree.
we have to establish this character. So the fact that they're like, oh, we created this character and we just recreated his lab. It's like, that was easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's
you
absurd.
Kind of just have to sweep that logic under the rug and focus on the meat of the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already mentioned the idea that, I couldn't make a hologram when the Doctor was away on a mission, but now I can, and it's perfectly fine. And even within the episode, it's like, well, we can't possibly breach the creature's anatomy to see what's going on in there to save B'Elanna, but when we recreate it on the holodeck, we can.
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, but again, you got to let all that. You got to. You
gotta let it go.
You have to because it's serving a much bigger story.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I absolutely what I really love about the character is he lies to the Doctor from the beginning, just as if he says, "Oh, I don't remember any of that stuff." That's not that's not in this program. But then you find out. Well, of course he remembered all of that because he talks about it later. Yeah. And so I love those kinds of little character exchanges because I find that fascinating that they, something small like that I really love.
Well, I think also you can look at it as what's the nature of evil, because we can historically, from an objective standpoint, look back on a historic figure, right? Yeah. And say they were evil. They did evil. What they were doing was evil. Yeah. But then you have, when presented with the man himself, when presented with Krell Massa as a person, yes, he's immediately charming. Yeah, he's immediately funny and witty and interesting, and he doesn't see himself as evil
and brilliant.
Yeah, and brilliant. And so you can look at somebody like Josef Mengele, or you can look at oh God, I had another one. It's anyway, but it was Thomas Jefferson, because I theoretically, right, I love Jeffersonian philosophy. Okay. I love to read his letters. I love his theories on what America, this elevated agrarian culture, could be. And then an article comes out last week about basically this torture chamber he had for, oh God, what's her name?
Oh, Mary.
Yeah,
his.
Oh my God,
wife.
Sally Hemings.
Sally Hemings.
He had this little 4x4 dirt hole that he could only assess through his bedchamber, where he went and I won't say it because I don't want to get Mike demonetized. But so here we have this historic figure who objectively did evil things. Yeah. And yet there are these brilliant thoughts. So where do you draw the line historically?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is a slightly different question. As an evil person has provided you with something good. Can you appreciate it? As opposed to just the means of getting this thing that would help us was evil. Torture and all of these horrible things that our Bajoran crew member chimes in and tells us about were happening. It's not just a question of he was an evil bastard, but he did cure some things in perfectly reasonable ways. And so do we use it is a very different question to, do we use this research that we know was acquired by torturing and harming people, and is that kind of tacit support?
But again, you have to think of where do we draw the line, because basically all of human scientific knowledge eventually traces back to information that was gathered unethically, that was gathered through cruelty, that was gathered through great evil. So
absolutely,
where do you draw the line at saying, okay, we can't use this guy's research, but his research was based on this, which was based on this, but that happened 300 years ago, so it's okay to use that versus something that happened 30 years ago. The cruelty is historic, regardless of when it happened.
Definitely.
So
I think this, obviously this is the episode. This is the crux of the episode, and I think it's very illuminating that humans just, we are vicious and violent creatures. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so when something like this happens, it is, where do you draw the line?
and
The evil has already been done. Unfortunately,
you can't undo it.
You can't undo
make
it.
not happen. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No, but can you not then say, this is not in an offense to the people that died, or it's in defense of them to say they gave their lives in a horrible way, but we do have something now that cures this.
The problem with that is it sets a precedent that people can go, I can get information through torture,
and that's
okay.
And thank you, because that was what I was trying. That was my original thought, and that's the problem with human beings. It's like, because then that unfortunately also gives permission to do evil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you call me a pessimist, but
no, it's absolutely true.
That regardless of if we say, okay, this person got this information unethically, they got this information cruelly, they got this information viciously, so we're not going to use it. I don't think that's going to stop anyone from not committing atrocities. Look at what's happening right now. I mean, I think humans are innately not a good species, and I think I think that setting a precedent one way or another is not going to matter, because people are always going to do awful things.
I think that's a good point, and I really can't agree enough on that, because I think that, again, that goes back. Oh, I know, Michael. Maybe we should give Michael a chance, because he's about to explode.
No, I have a very interesting counter to Vean's point, but it's potentially personal. Although I'm sure you know me well enough to allow me to go there, but you might want me to kind of edit it out. But anyway, finish your thought, John. Anyway, before I do that.
No, it was just exactly what I was trying to convey, but not very well. Is that okay? It's been done. It's horrible. Yes, it's not going to prevent another maniac from doing something in the future. So why can't we take that information and at least use it for the good that...
I mean, I can say from a personal perspective, like, let's say I end up in alligator Auschwitz and I get experimented on, and something miraculous comes of that. Some cure for whatever disease that I have, say, MS or whatever. I would like to think, under those circumstances, that if it's going to help somebody who was in no way related to what I went through, that I would like them to not suffer from an illness they don't have to suffer from. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to think from a personal standpoint, I would like at least somebody benefit from what happened to me. You know what I mean? But I haven't gone through it. So how can I say,
I will say that with talking with survivors, it's just amazing to me. It's not a level, there's no it's not a forgiveness that they have given, to anything that happened to them. But there seems to be a universal, at least with the people that I was able to talk to, a sense of, I just really want people to understand exactly what happened. The knowledge of what happened is much more important. And that makes me go back again to, I really believe that those people would say, and you know what? I can't do that. I'm not going to put my words in their mouths. I haven't experienced it. But from the level that the way they would speak about things that happened, and how they survived it, and the strength it took, just the emotional strength to survive that. I just feel like they would be. I keep wanting to say it, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't think. I think that they would want something positive to come from that. It's horrible, and you know what? My family died, but all of these families will now give a chance to survive. They're not going to forgive or forget any of that. But there is also a great capacity in humans. We say the negative, but there is also the capacity for love and compassion and understanding. So it's just very difficult. I'm not making any sense, am I?
No, you are.
No, you are.
100%.
You are.
Yeah.
And you're entitled to that opinion. As you said, you're not putting words in anybody's mouth, but you're saying that you believe that people would want something good to come of it, and you're entitled to that opinion. It's understandable that you would say that, and it's reasonable to come at it from that angle and be like, if this research exists, I would rather something good come from it. And that's where I'm not condoning the action. I'm saying we have the chance for something good to come from something horrible. Why not do that? So right. On that purely pragmatic level, I completely understand where I don't necessarily agree, but I understand exactly where you're coming from that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that we can't sit here and pretend like Josef Mengele was the first person to perform vivisection.
No.
Nor was Carl Masset. So if we're not going to use their information, but we're using it from other sources because it happened further back, but
that's a very slippery slope.
Okay,
there's a difference. It's a slippery slope, so you either use information or you don't.
Well, I would say there's a difference between just ignorance of what you're doing and knowing you're doing something horrible. I mean, you can say in the 14th or 16th century, I guess, cutting people up and stuff and, seeing how things work. Well, you could even look at giving lobotomies, in the 50s.
Yeah.
It was touted as a miracle cure, and it was, I believe, an ignorance more than we're going to do now. If they would continue to doing it now that we know more, now it would be considered an evil thing. But then it was an ignorance more than anything, and a learning process that, unfortunately, that went the wrong way. So there's a difference between that and knowing going in that I'm going to torture somebody. I feel there is a difference there.
Yeah.
I hate to, and I warned Mike this was going to happen. So
I think you're probably going to come to the point that I was going to try and delve into. I've been sitting on it for a while, but go ahead.
Well, and Carl Masset actually brings this up when he's arguing with the doctor, and full disclosure, I am not trying to liken the Holocaust to animal rights issues. I know that is a very contentious thing, and I'm not trying to make light of the suffering of any group. But to talk about cruelty, what human beings have done to animals for thousands of years, and that's the basis of a lot of our medical and scientific knowledge. We do things to animals that are unspeakable, that if we did them to humans, it would... So if we're talking about precedents, if we're talking about that kind of thing, again, it's like, so it's okay to do this cruelty and suffering and viciousness to something that can feel, to something that is alive. Do you know what they were doing as recently as, I think, 10 years ago? They would cut open pregnant pigs and dogs, pump the uterus full of cigarette smoke and sew them back up, and then see the effects on the infants when they were born. Is there a big misunderstanding of the impact of cigarette smoke? What are we doing here? So, what we're willing to do to creatures we view as lesser, and that was Josef Mengele with Jewish people.
Exactly, because
as human beings.
Him, they were pigs.
Right, exactly.
Literally. They were literally just animals. They were animals to work on.
Exactly. And so My point is that any information that comes from suffering and cruelty and torture, whether it's on humans, animals, whatever, is wrong. But it is the nature of humans that it's going to happen. And
the only way we've been able to advance, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. So you have the information now. So
yeah.
What do you do?
Well, if you allow me, indulge me with the kind of a rhetorical question. And again, I know that you're my friend, so please don't think I'm attacking you personally. And if you'd rather I don't include this in the episode, just say it, I'll cut it out. But coming at it from that kind of argument and that logic, as a vegan, how does that not kind of equate to you just going, well, all these animals are dead anyway, and I'm not going to make any impact on this massive industrial thing, so why not just eat meat?
I do feel that way at times. And in fact, when I have friends who eat, I have a lot of friends who eat meat. And if I see them, I have criticized friends of mine who, if they're eating a steak and they cook it into leather, I'm like, hey, that cow died for you. You might as well cook it properly. Rare to medium rare.
Yeah.
So let's not waste it if it's dead,
It's already dead. It's already, yeah.
The problem is the agricultural complex. It's inhumane. And I cannot in good conscience participate in it, whether or not that's going to make a difference.
That is my point, is that, so that you're saying that about that, but not about like, oh, there's things that I'm kind of happy to in good conscience engage with because the information's there already. And it seems, again, I'm not just attacking you, it's more for the debate.
I'm not saying I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between information that's already present and something that is continuing to happen.
Yeah.
If we ended animal ag right now and all these steaks are going to go bad, and there's never going to be any more steaks, okay, maybe I would eat one. I can't say for sure, but we're talking about perpetuating something that is continuing. That's like if Josef Mengele was still getting new information via torture. But
would you say that that's me misunderstanding in thinking that's a bit of a double standard, though? Would you kind of rail back against that and be like, no, it's not, it's two completely different things?
Well, I think it is I think it's different in that it's something that's still happening to participate in versus something that happened, it's done with.
Yeah. I'm not really making my point very clearly, but
maybe I'm misunderstanding.
No, my thing is more sort of like, do you understand then that people would have a right to say, I don't want to engage with this because it's my personal morality, and you can if you want to, but I'm not. And it's not because I think, well, I might, it's going to make a difference if I do or don't or whatever. It's just that that's where I morally and ethically stand.
You mean like
I will not use it exactly like B'Elanna, who, by the way, refused consent.
Yes, I think she was absolutely within her rights to feel that way. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think Janeway, as the captain, was absolutely in her right.
Oh, I could not disagree more.
In the circumstances they were in.
No. It's never all right. It's never all right in any circumstance to completely just ignore consent. I'm sorry. I have to make that distinction.
But I don't feel like she did completely ignore it. They did really struggle about it. They just didn't give it a lot of airtime.
She still overwent it, though. It's still a matter of consent being ignored, and I'm not comfortable with that, especially from a character like Janeway, who's all about, no, I'm so moral. Do you know what I mean?
Janeway's always only been moral when it suited the episode. And
it struck me as a really dumb thing to write in, because you didn't need to give yourself that baggage as a writer.
So you think
having B'Elanna wake up and say, "I really won't."
But then there would have been no point to the story. You got to remember there has to be a pushback.
There's still a point, because the point is still, do we use this research or do we not? Without having had B'Elanna actively say, "Please do not do this."
What they could have done is B'Elanna be unconscious the whole episode.
Exactly.
And then have two characters, Tom going, she would want this, and Chakotay going, no, she wouldn't.
Exactly.
And actually, I'm sure Roxanne would have been happier with that anyway.
Yeah.
She hated,
Well, yeah,
she hated
I'll
this
get to
episode.
that for sure.
She hated this episode, and I know how
She
we all
did.
feel about her in real life, but she
Yeah.
did hate this episode.
No, I have that information on the things that I'll read out because she wasn't.
Well,
I don't know why.
I would say, as I said earlier, my beef in that situation, Mike, is more with the Doctor than with Janeway, because again, with Tuvix, he went, "Oh no," he said no, so I can't do it. And then in this case, he's like, "She said no, but I'm going to do it anyway."
And then he deletes him at the end.
Oh, don't that now that part.
So
You
that doesn't make sense then.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And boy, and just from an acting standpoint, I would have loved to have had him on the series, but it would have been one more character too many.
Yeah.
But he would have been a great character to add just the conflict
but for the Doctor to use it and then go to stand up on his high horse in that last
That's
scene.
what I'm saying. And then say, okay, but nobody else will ever be able to do this now.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, ultimately. Well, I used it, but nobody else is ever going to be able to use it because this is immoral. Well, that's bullshit. You've used it now.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
write a new paper and clean it up, to a point so that you say that, this is where it came from, but it saved her life. And here's how we did it. That's bullshit.
I do think the episode, to give it its credit, does have Massette point that out, which it didn't have to do, and say quite rightly, "You've used it now, you fucking hypocrite."
Oh, exactly. No, exactly.
How dare you? How dare you in that last scene come up and act like you are so morally superior to him? Well, he is morally superior to him. That's not what I mean. But how dare you go through everything you went through this episode, use his information, use his assistance, do it all, and then at the end go, "You are so wrong and bad, and I'm deleting you."
Yeah.
Like, yes, like I just said, and then nobody else will be able to use that research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but that also
ridiculous.
That also feeds into my other complaint about Janeway's characterization of the episode, not to keep piling on. But the idea that this is such a big moral quandary and it needs, kid gloves to handle it and we need to explain it. And then in the end, she's like, "Well, Doctor, I'm going to leave the decision in your hands." Fuck off. You're like, I'm deciding you have to do this now, but in future, you decide. I can't be bothered with this moral complexity anymore.
I think your problem is, I think your biggest problem with this episode, if I may, and I'm not arguing with you on this point, is that you just don't like how that stuff was written.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah.
And I agree. I mean, I think it could have been handled with better finesse. But again, I keep going back to the whole point was to be able to have these arguments.
I agree.
And have these discussions.
Oh, yes.
So that does not take away from the episode for me, because I am able to, for me, the conversations are important enough to have. Do I agree with you about it, being out of character? Maybe a little bit, but again, the story overrides that for me.
I don't agree, and here's why. Because you are in an extreme circumstance, and in extreme circumstances, people do not always behave the way you would predict they would. So I don't think it's fair to call it out of character. I actually think it is in character for Janeway. I think she was in, not just her, the whole situation. It was a very extreme, very dire situation where quick decisions had to be made. And they are alone. They do not have backup. Say she lets B'Elanna die in this case, and then something happens to Carrie, and then something happens to and then something happens. You have a finite amount of resources to keep this whole crew going. She is responsible for the whole crew, not just one person.
Yeah.
So I think she made the decision that had to be made, and I love the scene in the boardroom. And the ready.
I like that scene a lot too.
At the very end of the scene, and this is so fucking Janeway, and I love it, where she's like, "This is my decision. I am responsible. I am absolving all of you for any responsibility."
Yeah.
And she just takes it on the chin, and she always does, and I love that about her.
Which is great. And
Mike, the burden she carries through this whole series.
Which would be great, except that in the very next scene, she's like, "But I don't want the burden of deciding whether to keep the hologram or not, Doctor. You choose."
Well, because I think that's right, though.
I agree. That was a medical decision. That
I totally agreed with that. And he created it.
I don't buy this.
I thought that worked. I thought that worked.
Agree. I agree because only the doctor could know the true value.
I agree.
Of the information.
He made the wrong decision.
He did. He made the wrong decision.
Well,
but I did not feel that it was a weird thing for her to leave that to him.
I agree with John again. Yeah.
I find that hypocritical to say, oh, she completely took all of the responsibility and absorbed them all, but then immediately just, deferred to somebody else with the big decision.
Yeah, but that's the point of
that was the right thing to do. He's the medical
Exactly.
executive.
He's the medical expert. If it was an engineering thing, she would defer to B'Elanna. If it was a security thing, she's going to defer to Tuvok. That's part of being a leader. You delegate things you don't know.
So why not defer to him in the initial issue then?
Huh?
That's what I'm saying. Is like, so why not defer to him on the initial issue instead of her going, I'll take full responsibility, but do it. She's taking responsibility for a medical issue there, and you're fine with it. But then when she's like, but I can't.
A medical issue of proceeding or not what's the value of this information, because it's not her area of expertise.
I mean, it is still ultimately the same question, isn't it?
It's not.
No, it's not.
Mike.
It's not the same question.
To me, it is. Honestly, to me, it is. It just seems like,
I love this. Actually,
it seems like she's just kind of the writing has everybody flip flopping between whatever they decide and what they want. And
Mike, three of us have been flip flopping with what we're saying.
I haven't.
For the last 30 minutes.
I haven't had a chance to give my view one way or the other. But I will say I haven't flip flopped. My opinion has stayed the same, and my belief has stayed the same. But I understand you might have differing opinions, and you get new information. You might, change your mind. But it just seems like everybody's doing one thing 1 minute and another thing the next, and we never see the motivation for that change of mind. And yes, I get it, it's 45 minutes and blah blah blah, but to me it's still lazy writing, and I don't excuse that because it's asking a big question. I think if anything it sullies the big question you're asking, because
you can't answer that question.
I could not disagree with you more, Mike. I really
couldn't. That's not surprising.
But I think this goes back to what we were saying too about the thing that's great about Voyager is they don't wrap it up with a
I love that.
Unfortunately they kind of do, but they do, I mean, ultimately by deleting him, but at least they're asking the questions.
Well, I don't think they do though, John, because we are having the conversation about how the doctor was probably wrong to delete him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, Robert Picardo himself has that conversation and doesn't know the answer, and we're still debating. I'm kind of I'm with you on that, and I even say that. I think I mentioned it in my conclusion. I love that Voyager. One of its strengths is there is no answer to this, and I'm going to leave you with that and ponder it yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said, I absolutely love that. That's the end of Latent Images. Just there is no good answer here, Doctor. Try and reconcile it and just sit with it, because there's what else I can do, really. So I'm not complaining about that. My issue is more, like I said, within the course of discussing this, it just seems that the writing takes so many shortcuts just to get to where it wants to be, and it seems lazy-ish to me.
Okay.
I just think it was one of those things that we really, really want to have this discussion, and it would have taken half a series to, establish before we could even get to the point to have the discussion, and that's just not possible in this method of storytelling. It
don't
was
address it.
To be addressed, Mike. It's look at this conversation we're having.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I can't disagree with that, but I don't buy that you can't take a bit longer with it either. I mean, this is the era of 26 episodes a season. If you can devote 10 episodes to the friggin' Predator ripoffs that want to hunt you, you couldn't devote a few episodes to a big moral issue. I don't think there was anything stopping them, but yeah.
It's funny. It's funny.
Stopping them.
No, I think it's funny you should say that, because I find that my favorite episodes, I wish they were all two-parters. I really do. And again, I don't know that there's enough material. Well, there is, but with the creature thing and stuff.
Yeah. I know, right? Such a deep question for a science fiction show with a rubber creature straight out of Power Rangers, but anyway.
But you know what? You gotta love the creature. It's just a MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin, as Hitchcock would say.
But here's another point of contention then, is like the doctor in the holodeck, he's like, oh, we're hurting it. And then when they go to actually do the procedure, suddenly he's okay with it because it's non-humanoid, because he's differentiating.
I don't think he was okay with it.
Well, he certainly didn't stop him. Didn't stop him, did it?
He definitely seemed to have protested against it, though.
But it didn't stop him.
Well, I mean, again, you have to use your point, you have to kind of forgive that the story still has to happen. If you stop,
I understand that. That's my whole thing that makes him a hypocrite at the end. Yeah. It's like, I don't disagree.
And
we're hurting it, and then okay, but we're going to do it. But now you're bad.
And I think this again goes back to Mike's point a little bit on, if we are going to unfortunately be able to devote little time to those moments, then at least make the doctor more upset during the actual surgery.
But I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, I just think both points are right. It's like if you could have just massaged the way it was done a bit, that could have been a much better moment to have him as upset. Instead, they want us to be concentrated on something else at that moment, and they just let that go. But it would have worked better if he was just as upset during the actual procedure,
But also, I think the alien design is important in the fact that it allows the doctor and the audience to get a sort of distinction in the way we do with animals, because even in the title, nothing human. This is a non-humanoid, more animalistic appearing alien that can't communicate, it can't talk.
It does communicate, in all fairness.
Mike, I'm saying it can't talk. It's not.
They're lessening it because of the fact that it can't communicate the way we need it.
Right. So they're making it easier on the audience because if this was a humanoid creature that was there talking and communicating, and even if it wasn't talking, but it just looked more like a person, and we're cutting its back open and digging into it and making it scream, people were going to have a lot more issues. And so they make it more animalistic because it's quote unquote okay to treat animals this way. From a design standpoint, I think it's painful.
I have to disagree. I think
I would argue that point though, because I would say that it reinforces the point that just because it's not human doesn't mean it's not as important.
Again, there's a whole lot about learning the language and communicating, and we provide, we give it back to its ship at the end, and it's definitely portrayed as a big happy ending moment. So I don't think it's a matter of, it's alien enough that we can get away with it. I think the episode does enough, in my view, to think, that it's not just, kill this because B'Elanna's going to die and it's a lesser life form or whatever. They really do point out it's just a different form of life.
So what do we think of the actual design of the alien? I
think it's adorable.
I actually kind of like it. It harkens back to the original series. There's a cheesiness, but actually there's a lot of damn detail in that thing. And I love how it wraps around her and, goes down. And I don't know. I kind of, and it is kind of cute, actually.
I think it's so stinking cute. I love the design. I really do.
Yeah.
Mike?
I'm just trying to figure out. We've taken up way too long, so I'm trying to figure out how to fit the rest of the episode in.
I can tell you, I love the directing. It actually struck me in the scenes where they're walking around sickbay and the camera's following them, how they filmed it like a medical drama series.
Yes. You know what? That's a great point.
I thought David Livingston did a brilliant job.
That's a really good point. I hadn't considered that. That's great. I know we're jumping all over. I think we're trying to help you, Mike, by kind of going through some other salient points. I love the set design of the doctor's office.
I'll jump in quickly.
Cardassian architecture is so beautiful.
Oh, it's so cool.
I'm not a fan, but okay, that's a different argument. But no, I'm going to have to take the reins back because I do have some kind of information to convey, if I may. So we've kind of discussed the writing and the plot to death, but just to kind of get this point out of the way. Although Jerry Taylor and other members of Voyager's writing staff, including Berman, initially intended Taylor to write numerous scripts for Voyager after she retired from the industry and ended her position as exec producer of the show between the 4th and 5th seasons, this was ultimately the only episode whose writing she was credited for, following her 4-year stint as executive producer. By extension, it was also her last writing credit for the Star Trek franchise in general, because she's sadly passed away now, though she would remain credited as co-creator and executive consultant for the rest of the show's run. Coincidentally, the first episode she wrote was the Next Gen 4th season episode Suddenly Human, and the last was Nothing Human, which is one of those weird coincidences that I love pointing out every now and then.
That's interesting.
Jerry Taylor commented she thought the ethical dilemma around which this episode centered is an interesting one that persists today in all kinds of science, as I think we've proven. She also spoke about the effectiveness of the Krell-Merced character. Could you not trust him? Because the Cardassians usually could not be trusted. I think it was good storytelling because it does keep you on pins and needles as to what's going to happen. Again, sorry, Vean. Yeah, and just a random, we've kind of brought up a few of the nitpick continuity issues, so I may as well bring this one up. When Mossett and the Doctor first transfer from the holodeck to sickbay, the Doctor is wearing his mobile emitter. He doesn't actually need it in either of those locations. So anyway, but that's really nitpick. I know that is beyond nitpicking because there's also no reason why not to have it, you know. But anyway,
at least there wasn't a Coke can in the scene or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I kind of did want it because bringing in this is the last question I'll ask about the writing, I promise, because then we have to move on. But bringing it back to the kind of theme of the series, and because you're on the episode, Vean, it seems like this episode is incredibly racist towards Cardassians, and it was a point I kind of wanted to bring up. Like, you know, I've written some things down. As far as I'm concerned, they're all cold-blooded killers. You know,
Yeah,
Cardassians
that
are not the
sounds like
friendliest people, and
that line could have come right out of Chief O'Brien.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think O'Brien would be that freaking outwardly like, hang on, all of them. You know?
Yeah.
But and like Torres, I get she's a Maquis, but she truly seems to despise the Cardassians, and we never get told what her history with them is specifically. And I would have liked to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never known, they don't really get into anybody's reasons for joining the Maquis, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, exactly. It would be nice, though.
Yeah, it might have been a nice explanation. I don't know. I don't like the Maquis, so I don't particularly care. Yeah,
no, but I mean,
I mean, that would be like saying all the Germans are bad, you know?
No, exactly. But it would have been nice to have at least that kind of alternate justification of B'Elanna saying, you know, oh, the Cardassians specifically, we went on a mission once and they attacked me and they were savage and they did, you know, beyond the realms of things that you would be permitted in war or whatever, or just give some kind of reason why she's so vindictive against them specifically. If you will allow me, I do have some complaints to make because I've written them down and I have grievances and I'm going to air them.
I'm gonna mute myself here. So. Aside
from the generalizations based on race, by the way, which I don't love, even if it is the Cardassians, I think I could live without 7 of 9 doing the we have to reference the Borg bit in every episode she's in. We get it.
Can I say something?
If you must.
Why the fuck was 7 of 9 in charge of engineering?
I know exactly.
Come on, man. Where's
Lieutenant Carey?
That
was
ticked
so
me
stupid.
off. That ticked me off.
I really felt she just didn't even need to be in the episode. I mean,
exactly.
But you know, honestly, that was like, come on, we don't need that.
No, I agree. But I have to say, like I said, what was I going to say? So, the Doctor initially, when this Bajoran's telling these really sort of horrible stories of what happened to his grandfather and he was there and like everything that happened, the Doctor's initial response is not to believe him.
Yeah.
What? And then Chakotay tells him, well, you have to forget the past. What a dick. Try telling that to a Holocaust survivor, Chakotay. You know?
Yeah, well, it's Chakotay, isn't it? I mean, you know.
That would be bad enough. But then Chakotay does a total 180 and says, actually, we shouldn't use this information. You just told him to forget the past 2 minutes ago. Anyway, as I said, I have my issue with the writing in the episode, and that was some of the ones that were really like, hang on, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of, other than the Janeway stuff I've already mentioned, that was kind of where I lie. And then, like I said, I'm not comfortable with the idea of B'Elanna saying I do not consent, and Janeway going, well, tough. And then getting antsy about it when B'Elanna rightfully is annoyed.
So you have not been swayed in the least by any of the...
No, I think
that's interesting.
There's a certain line you have to draw, and I think even if I can understand what Janeway did, I think, as you said, that last scene really sours me on it because B'Elanna has every right to be annoyed when she's saying to Janeway, you went over the fact that I refused consent and you did something without my consent to me, and Janeway's response is, no, you bitch, get over it.
I don't think it was that, Mike. I think it was that, hey, I know you're mad, but I expect you to, you know,
do your job.
Yeah.
I still think that's an unreasonable response. She's got every right to be
She's
annoyed.
the captain.
She didn't say she wasn't allowed to be annoyed. She doesn't say she's not allowed to be upset.
She's kind of hinted at it with, oh, there's too many demons in the air or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
she's saying, okay, deal with your shit and let's get back to work.
That's not a cool thing to say when you're the one that's done wrong. Like I said, I can understand doing it, but she did wrong. She ignored somebody's consent. How is that okay? You know what I mean? And like you said, the doctor does as well. I'm not absolving him of the responsibility. He also should have the issue, but he at least doesn't go to her quarters and go, for fuck's sake, get over it. Yeah.
Well, I think Janeway was going there to try and have that conversation, but B'Elanna wasn't ready.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I agree with that, Vean.
Didn't show that. That's not what I saw now. That's not what I got from that scene.
Okay.
And
I got the same thing, Vean.
I think Kate Mulgrew is a good enough actor that if there's supposed to be subtext there, she could have played it. I just don't think it was written. And I think it was very much written as she had every right to do this. And I don't like that. I'm not comfortable with that at all. Like I said, when somebody's actively said, don't do this thing to me, and you did, and then you act like, well, you're in the wrong.
Would it have helped you? Would it have helped you? This is a kind of a silly debate at this point, but would it have helped you if she had said something about, you know, I understand your feelings, but we need you here? If she had,
yeah, or as I said, just having a conversation of, even aside from the fact that you're the best engineer we've got, you're my friend, and I didn't want to let you die. And I'm sorry if that, you know, that's stepped over your level. Well, but she's not going to say
that because she's the captain. She may have said that.
She says things like that all the time.
She says things like that to Chakotay.
Having a personal reason to override somebody's consent is way worse than doing it because it's for the greater good.
Well, it's still bad. It's bad either way. I'm not saying there's degrees of badness. I'm saying it would have been nicer.
No, but you saying I did it because you're my friend. I overrode your consent because you're my friend.
That minimizes it.
So much worse to me.
That minimizes it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have. I don't know. You're right. You are right. To move on to the acting, because we kind of already have. I have a couple of things, like I said, to get in because we touched on them earlier. But like her on-screen persona, B'Elanna Torres, actress Roxanne Dawson didn't find this episode a comfortable experience. In an interview on StarTrek.com, she cited this as the worst episode she ever took part in due to the fact that her pet dog apparently died sadly during filming.
Yeah.
And all she had to do for that week while grieving was lie on a bio bed. Dawson, with a laugh, also said, I hated every minute of that episode. It's no secret, so I can just blurt it out. That bug was just horrible. It was no fun. It's not like I was challenged in any kind of actor way. I was just laying there with a bug on me. It was a real pain. However, Dawson tried to look on the bright side of the episode. You had to have a sense of humor. I spent most of that episode trying not to laugh at the whole thing. Granted, maybe the story had something to say, and I think that was the saving grace, as we said. But I wasn't part of a lot of those points. I think of myself as more of a prop in that episode. I don't fully agree, but I see where she's coming from.
I actually completely agree with that. But I also would say that somebody has to be that catalyst. Yeah. So, you know, and it has to be a character that we care about. So, you know, tough noogies. That's what you get. You know, it's a better episode because of the fact. I mean, we needed that, and you know, I understand as an actor, you're disappointed, but you know,
especially because B'Elanna has so many powerhouse episodes.
She does. So you know what? You're serving a much greater story here.
I think and I do get the fact that
the timing just is bad for her because you know.
Yes.
All she could do was she didn't get to act, and that would be awful because that would be the week that you'd want to act your ass off, so you weren't thinking about your dead dog.
That's nobody's fault, though.
So I totally get that, but you know, somebody had to be that kid, that catalyst. It was her. Okay.
Yeah. Moving on, working on this episode was a remarkably different experience for actor Robert Picardo, who commented, now, some people remember that show as the episode where B'Elanna Torres had to go through 43 minutes with a giant rubber trilobite glued to her body, but I remember it as a very interesting discussion about medical ethics between the Doctor and the Cardassian Doctor. I found it was one of the classic Star Trek episodes where, because it's in science fiction, you can really deal with the essential ethical issue. You can pare away all the externals and just look at a core question. That is a really terrific example of what Star Trek can do better than any other show.
Hell yeah.
Totally agree with all of that. Yeah, totally agree with all of that. Absolutely.
And, you'll appreciate this bit, John. Robert Picardo enjoyed working with David Clennon, the actor of Krell Mossett, the two performers having been friends for many years. Picardo said, I was delighted when he was cast in the show and I got to have those great scenes with him.
Oh, they did have such great scenes.
They had a wonderful chemistry. And honestly, not just because I love the Cardassians, I would have adored to have had him on as a recurring character.
That's what I thought too. Clennon is playing it as if, because in his mind, he's not a twirling bad guy.
No,
exactly.
A twirling mustache. I should say a mustache twirling bad guy is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
He thinks, again, it goes back to I'm just working on farm animals.
Just a scientist.
I'm working on farm animals to give everybody else a better life.
I did want to chime in earlier and say that I kind of liked that the show did that, in that it would have been so easy to have him be created as a hologram and then be, sunken-eyed, staring like I am a sinister person. And it's actually, it's more realistic and more shades of grey to be like, no, he's a charming guy, but he's evil.
Because he can't understand why the doctor can't see it from from his side. Because he has no ethics, he is not able to, it's like, but we're working on, it doesn't matter. We have to just save the patient,
But I think it goes back to what I was saying about historic figures like Jefferson, who threw wonderful dinner parties and had an amazing wine cellar and wrote correspondence to people all over the world, and who did some really dark shit.
Well, I think there's a really important line in this too that kind of goes with this. Where is the real guy now? Oh, he's head of science and he's the head of the, science, whatever.
At the college,
Right. He at a university, he has, in real life, supposedly, remember?
Yeah.
And it's like, so, there was no consequence for the, he's still living as a, respected scientist.
To my original point, I was just going to say I like that it kind of points out that evil doesn't have to look the way you would necessarily expect it to, and be vigilant, because evil can just as easily look charming and friendly and everything else. So on the acting, I did want to mention a few things. First of all, the alien voices of the rubber creature were apparently provided by Frank Welker, who I love that. If you're not familiar with Frank Welker, he is a legendary voice actor who does the voice of Scooby-Doo and Fred in Scooby-Doo, Megatron in Transformers, and a million other things.
I did not know. That's fantastic. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, look him up. He's got a list of credits that's longer than I could feasibly ever read out, especially when we're already overrunning. But yeah, I love that. And I have to correct myself, because I have said in a previous episode that I believed Zach Galligan was in this episode. He's in a different episode in the flesh, so he is in Voyager, but it's not him in this episode. It's an actor called Jad Mega, who I will say is very good, even with heavy exposition work. But yeah,
who was he in this? I'm sorry, who was he?
He was the Bajoran who basically says, "I was there. It was my grandfather."
Yes. I like him.
Okay, he was okay.
I thought he was good.
I'm prejudiced because I think he's cute.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. Cute. No, I get it. He is cute.
But I will say, I think there could have been a little more venom there. I think there could have been a little more anger. I think he played it a little bit safe.
Okay.
I think that would hurt the episode, though, because they don't even go back to him when they've kind of made the decision to use the stuff, and it's kind of he has to be that kind of like, I'm pissed off, but I'm also disposable enough that you're not going to address the fact that I've apparently resigned because I'm so appalled, but I'm not going to be consulted about the fact that it gets used anyway. So
I don't know. I just felt like I said in another episode, I think it was Duet, we were talking about where you let the eyes do the acting, and it just wasn't in the eyes.
No, I agree. It's not in the eyes. Yeah, you're right. But what?
Fair enough.
Eyes.
We'll move on from there, because again, I have to. I'm probably, I'm going to try not to come in too much later. But this warning, this might be like an extended length episode by the looks of it, and I hope we're all not, in a hurry to get anywhere. So moving to the direction, director David Livingston was tasked with keeping a sense of momentum to this exposition-loaded installment. He said the challenge for me was to, in some way, keep it visually interesting and not just talking back and forth. Sometimes that's fine, but on a TV show, you've got to keep things moving. He also recalled it was about something, yet it was all talk. I said, we are just going to move the camera all the time. I said to the actors, don't ever stop moving. I told them to make it a dance. Livingston remembered the results of those directions. I think we kept things moving by having them walk around tables and stuff and keeping the movement going. So physicalizing what they were seeing, not just them seeing the words. And again, it feeds to what you were saying earlier, Vean, about the direction I think is quite good in this episode. even though we say in the past, sometimes the best thing is to not notice a director, but likewise, I think you can notice when they're doing really good stuff. And
absolutely,
hearing that, I think
I think what you just described is exactly what I was saying earlier, and the movement of the camera and the movement of the actors really keeps the momentum going. I also think it ups the tension in the medical scenes.
Yeah. I have to say as well, I don't know if I would credit this to a director or if it's a different job. I'm sure it probably is a different job, but I did make note of the fact that when they're in the midst of this kind of big ethical kind of dilemma, everywhere on the ship is kind of muted lighting, like everywhere looks kind of dark and a little bit foreboding. And then once everything's resolved and they beam the alien over to a ship, it's like the lights immediately turn up. And I was like, all right, okay, I get it. I mean, that's not something you would necessarily notice, but on a subliminal level, I get why you did that as well. It's just another tool, but
very theatrical, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Any quick thoughts before I move us on from the direction?
No? I said what I had to say.
Yeah, no, I think it was covered well.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. On the VFX and production design, then David Livingston was not entirely satisfied with the rubber alien of this episode. He said, we had bladders put into it so it would look like it was moving, but you never wanted to stay on it long enough to see the bladder moving. It was this big, silly piece of rubber, one of those things you have on Star Trek once in a while. It's part of the genre. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's to be expected.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah,
I like that. I think it's a fun design. I like the breathing mechanism. I think it's kind of vaguely cute, and I think it served its purpose well.
So so we're going to give our favorite stuff as we always do in our conclusion. We are getting towards the end, I promise, listeners. But I do have to kind of chime in with our audience response and open our subspace communications.
Incoming transmission.
I do always ask, the big question to all of our social media and to say to people, do you want to comment on this episode? What do you think of it? And a few questions. I have to say the response was disappointing on this one, perhaps because people just didn't want to wade into the ethical debate and because it is not one with easy answers. But I did get some things, including one long one that I wanted to read out. So if you'll allow me, I'm going to dive straight in. Over on Blue Sky, Steve King responded, you've got to make some sacrifices when you're alone in the Delta Quadrant, unfortunately, to which I predictably responded, isn't that literally the exact opposite of what Janeway spent 7 years saying? And he responded to me, she did the right thing with the caretaker and then spent nearly a decade doing the opposite. Then 20 years later, intentionally fucked up the whole timeline, and she was right every time.
Ooh.
All right. On Instagram, MemeSpace9 says, these types of episodes are why I'm a Trekkie. Understandable. Star Trek VIP Nerd Lounge on Facebook, Bill Steele simply says 5 stars. On my personal Facebook, Thomas Labanik, our friend Tommy, who's been on the episodes, says 3.5, interesting debate over using the knowledge of another that's gained over questionable methods. And my friend Adrienne, who's been on a few episodes in our Discord, says simply, OMG, this was a dark episode, lordy. And as I said, the quite long one that I had from Facebook to my personal Facebook page from Tom O.T. Allow me again to just read this all out because I think it's a good point. Solid foundation for an episode, but it fails as a Voyager episode. It should have been a DS9 episode because then they could have had the actual Krell set. The information was in Voyager's databases and only became an issue for the crew of Voyager because of the decision for the Doctor to use a hologram based on Krell set rather than just accessing it himself and incorporating that into his own program. The questions the episode asks are good, but only work if you forget that the Krell hologram isn't a hologram, that the viewer treat him as if he were Merset himself. If anything, the story could have been stronger by asking the question without having Merset on hand, because now it's only asking about the legacy of these horrible medical experiments, not bogging itself down in the fact that this hologram of Merset is being treated as Merset himself. Good ideas, faulty execution. I'll give it 3 stars.
Wow. Yeah. I don't want to offend anybody. I appreciate your comments. Truly, I do. And I think that's
absolutely.
But I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah.
Far be it for me to criticize your audience, Mike.
I don't fully agree, but I see the point that he's making, and I
do not actually. I think again, I'm sorry, but then you would have the DS9 episode with the ghosts and stuff, and seriously, now that we know there's a bit of a history behind that, it wasn't ready then, or wait, it would have been done after, right? Yeah. After.
No, it was before, but no, I don't think it would have been better as a DS9 episode. And
you need the character. That's the whole point, is to have the actual character there, and that's I don't agree.
I think it's a kind of writing shortcut because it kind of relies on, again, it kind of bugged me that like we talk about sentient holograms and how unusual they are, and yet they create Krell Merset, and within the first 2 seconds go, "You're a hologram of Merset," and he goes, interesting, and doesn't immediately have a massive existential crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what brings down the score for me. Mike, can I jump into one thing we didn't talk about earlier because we were talking about everything else? The makeup for Krell Merset. Oh, I love it.
Isn't it wonderful? I'm so glad. I wanted to mention that too. I'm sorry. I just jumped in.
His hair, his hair is like, it's not that slicked back Cardassian military style. I mean, he still has vaguely that, but it's like, it's got a little more brown to it. And his coloration has a lot more blue tones. And I just like that over the span of Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and Voyager, all of the Cardassians, it's like they're from different regions, just like on Earth. Everybody's from different regions and have different
Instead of everybody looking the same and wearing the same outfit, like the Romulans in Next Generation.
Exactly. And so you have the Romulans and the Vulcans, and everybody looks almost identical.
And they all wear the same clothes.
And they all wear the same clothes. And here with the Cardassians, you have some that are more blue and some that are more brown and some that have a little green to them and some that have these more prominent ridges, like they're from a desert area versus one that might be from a more tropical area. I love that they did that, and I think they
wanted the more erudite look to him as well, because he's after all a well-respected scientist, and that also goes in. I'm sorry, Mike, because I wanted to mention the makeup and the set design because I love his lab. I know I mentioned it earlier,
Me too.
We're gonna give our favorite character moment in line, as I tend to like to do, and then we're almost out of here. So. Would you like to start, Vean? I don't know why I came to you, but why not?
I'm glad.
I have two that I'm kind of, as I mentioned earlier, when Janeway goes, "This is my decision," after she just cuts through the bullshit. Like, it's not bullshit. That's not what I mean. But there's so much happening, and there's this, and Tom's arguing that, and Chakotay's arguing, and everybody's going, and she finally just goes, "You know what? I'm in charge. This is on me. Don't worry about it." I love that. But I think my absolute favorite moment, and I'm sorry, I don't have the quote pulled up, but is when, I'm sorry to say, and I don't mean this to sound like I'm a Nazi sympathizer or apologist or I agree with any of it, but I do think Merset does bring up some good points.
He does.
Yeah, I know.
And
that's the whole,
Yeah. So I think my absolute favorite has to be when the doctor is being a hypocrite and he calls him out on it. And especially goes, "Well, you've been experimenting on lower life forms for centuries." And the doctor's like, "Well, that's different." And I'm like, is it though? So I think as somebody who is very active in animal welfare and environmentalism and as a vegan and everything else, I think for me, that was my personal favorite moment and favorite scene, probably.
Fair enough. No, and to your point, I don't think it means you're a sympathizer. I think it goes to show that, life would be lovely if everybody that was evil wandered around in black cloaks and hats.
I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear because, I know I love the Cardassians, but I love them as a fictional lizard species. I have been accused of,
Well, there are always going to be idiots in the world.
I know, but I just want to be explicitly clear.
I understand. But I do think, like I said, I think the message there isn't so much that as like, just be careful because evil can appear to you in many forms. And just because it can sometimes look like a disgusting man with tiny hands and, it doesn't have to. It can also be handsome and charming, and don't be blindsided by that.
Yeah.
So, But no, did you want to give your stuff, John, or would you rather I go first with my favorite?
You can go.
So
I'm trying to find the quote that I really liked. So
I have mine written out, and I kind of, again, sorry to be critical of the episode. If you do love it, by all means, you're welcome to. But for favorite character, I found it hard to pick because so many of them for me were out of character or hard to gauge. So I have to go with B'Elanna because at least she's consistent. Sorry. My favorite scene was the final scene between the Doctor and Merset, who calls out their hypocrisy despite the Doctor's genuine seeming remorse. It ending the episode forces you to sit with the questions raised and no easy answers, which might surprise a few people that I was kind of for that. And the favorite quote, again, piggybacking kind of off what you were saying, Vean, is, "You can erase my program, Doctor, but you can never change the fact that you've already used some of my research. Where was your conscience when B'Elanna was dying on that table? Ethics, morality, conscience. It's funny how they all go out the airlock when we need something. Are you and I really different?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did find the exact quote, Mike, for mine.
Oh, cool. Go for it.
It's convenient to draw a line.
Damn it, that was
higher
mine.
and lower species, isn't it? So that was the line I was trying to.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, please repeat it, because Jordan kind of
Okay, it's convenient to draw a line between higher and lower species, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do like that.
I'm like, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
very convenient.
If I had one thing I could say here, it's like, everybody, please stop eating my friends. Anyway, go ahead, John.
Yeah.
No,
John,
it's just that whole exchange between. I can't pick a now, because you know that's the quote for me. And it's also the delivery of how he delivers the line.
Yeah.
You know, and you delivered it just like he did. You know, it's just great. Hold on, there was one other one. Shoot. Oh well, it's. Is this the one that you said, Mike? Is how do you suppose your own database was developed? My God, half the medical knowledge acquired on Earth came through experiments on lower animals, but not people.
That's a precursor to what Vean says.
And that's when you jump into. It's convenient to draw a line between higher and lower species, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because that really is just the whole point.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's nice to shine a light on hypocrisy, whether there's an answer or not, and discuss it as we've been doing. You know, it's good to have these discussions, and and I don't think anybody's necessarily, as Janeway says, there's no right or wrong per se. We're not going to condemn anybody for any opinion either way, but it ultimately comes down to what you think and feel, I think, and potentially the situation, which we haven't found ourselves in, thank God. You know, so we'll see. But cool. So, we just have to finish up with our conclusions and our score out of 5 stars, or Starfleet Deltas, or whatever I'm using this week. So, Vean, I think I'll start with you again, if you don't mind.
This absolutely would be a 5-star episode for me, were it not for 1 or 2 little gripes. 1, 7 being in charge of engineering. And
she has to be in every episode.
I know, it's the 7 of 9 show, but 2, and more importantly, let's just make this hologram in 30 seconds flat. Yeah. For me, that for me knocks it down, but I understand why they did it. But I think that is just so. It's just not. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the word I'm trying to use, but
lazy writing.
It doesn't jive with everything they've established for their technology.
Yes. Oh, right, yeah.
So
it's incongruent. It's incongruent.
Thank you. That is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Being able to develop that sophisticated hologram and replicate his lab in that short amount of time, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
But I go with the suspension of disbelief so we can have the conversation. But it does take it down to a 4.5 for me. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you massive SAT points for using whatever that word was, because I'm not familiar with it. So kudos to both of you for outdoing my English knowledge.
See, not all Americans are completely.
I wouldn't say all Americans are, but sadly a huge majority seem to be. But anyway, I mean, I'm English. What can I say? We're no better. But anyway.
Yes, true.
Anyhow, John, did you want to give yours, or would you rather I go first?
It's really, I mean, I just agree with everything you guys have said. I give it a 4.5 for those exact same reasons. It's funny. I think I may have probably walked in the door at a 5, having not deeply considered some of the stuff you guys mentioned. And so, so it does lower it a little bit, but the overall theme, the actor, of course, I give David a 5.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my conclusion then again. Sorry, it's kind of an essay, because I always I write these out and make sure they make sense and everything, because
I promise I
So, I just said a dense episode that tries to squeeze a lot into 45 minutes and as a result takes some unfortunate shortcuts. Character arcs feel a little rushed and a major ethical dilemma is left stuffed into standard exposition and plot of the week dynamics. The end result for me is a little unsatisfying. It's not that Voyager can't handle big swings. Excuse me. Later episodes like Latent Image show exactly how this kind of story should be done, but to its credit, this episode shares something important with those stronger examples. It's not afraid to leave you sitting with discomfort and uncertainty. It asks the questions, but leaves it up to you to wrestle with the answers, and that's good science fiction and good Star Trek. Unfortunately, the morality play at the heart of the story suffers from some wildly inconsistent characterization. Some characters flip-flop from one scene to the next. Others are written so out of step with who we know them to be that it borders on character assassination. I usually love Jerry Taylor's writing. Character work is a strength, but here it sometimes feels like she's writing strangers. The cast do their best. Some elevate the rough material, others struggle with it. Picardo was a mixed bag. His early coldness towards someone's trauma just doesn't feel like a season 5 Doctor, but he does stick the landing for me. Roxanne Dawson is better than she gives herself credit for in a brief and thankless role. Mulgrew, meanwhile, seems to channel her frustration with the script into a commanding performance, but it does make Janeway come off unnecessarily harsh and unfeeling to Torres at the end. Seven is once again on Borg reference duty for the 30th time, and Chakotay can't decide what he thinks. At least Paris, Kim, and Tuvok are consistent, and it's nice to see the ensemble all get something to do without it feeling forced, which is a compliment we often give Voyager. Direction-wise, no complaints. It's a solidly made episode, but in the end, this one feels just a little too ambitious for its own good. With abrupt pacing, messy character beats, and a script that wobbles more than it should, yet still manages to ask weighty questions and stick in your mind. It's frustrating, but admirable and ultimately thought-provoking, and I can't be mad at it for that. I wrestled with my score because I was torn so much between 3 and 3.5, given my opinions on the episode. Then I remembered that it's my podcast and my rules, and so I went literally in the middle and gave it 3.25 out of 5.
Oh.
Wait, does that mean I can change mine to 4.75?
Absolutely, if that's something you want to do.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, well, I didn't realize you didn't know that you could do that.
I did not. I was always doing it in increments of 5.
Yeah.
That's it doesn't make a huge difference to the score, but it makes a
I am
difference.
so surprised and disappointed, Mike, though. I really thought you were going to love this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I remember liking it more, I think, when I first watched it, but it was just, I was too aware of the flaws, and there were so many things. I mean, I've kind of explained things that I couldn't.
You
couldn't
really
leap
were,
over.
yeah, you were so hung up on that stuff. And
yeah. And
I understand. I do understand it, but boy, I'm shocked. 4.95 for me.
Really? Okay, well, that's going to mean I have to completely readjust the score again. Okay. 4.75 plus 4.95 plus 3.2.
Your review didn't mention David Clinton, by the way.
No, it didn't. That's a good point.
What was just? I know we need to wrap it up, but I didn't really hear your thoughts on his performance.
Oh no, I did. I said. I mean, the reason I didn't give a lot because I kind of agree with everything you said. Like I said, I think it was an interesting choice to make him charming and very likable.
What is there to say? He didn't miss a beat.
Yeah,
I mean, not a beat.
He just didn't. Yeah. I mean, I just watched the episode again, and now I'm ready to go watch it again.
Fair enough. But just to finish us off here, then, with Vean's score of 4.75, John's of 4.95, mine of 3.25, gives a final score for Nothing Human of 4.3.
Well, you know what? You know why that's perfect? You know why that's perfect? Because of the subject matter, and we are all so torn. I think it's so indicative of how we feel. That's great.
It's not the score itself that I'm amused by. It's the fact that literally all but one episode I've reviewed in this season has gotten 4.3. Absolutely insane. This is like 4 out of 5 episodes have got the same score now.
Mike, I will tell you, you do have some backup to your opinion because Sam I Am slept through the whole thing.
Yeah. Sam knows when characters aren't written well, you see.
That's so funny.
He was mouthing "Not My Janeway" the whole time. I could tell.
That's so funny.
He's watching us right now.
Oh, bless.
Well,
yeah. So, I mean, after a bit of a bumper-length episode, but, a valid one that was discussing some, deep points, it's just about time to wrap things up for this week's Ethical Entanglement. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow Trek fans. It really does help us reach more corners of the galaxy. And thank you, Vean, for giving me a quick shout-out on Blue Sky for no good reason, but I'm always grateful for it. And,
I had a very good reason. Thank you very much.
Well, it was what you said was lovely and very, very touching. So yes, she said that it was a very good podcast. Lets us get to know each other and discuss some deeper themes as we have been. So please subscribe.
Yeah, I think this is a great episode to prove my point.
Exactly, absolutely. And don't forget to check out our link tree in the episode description or our outro with the lovely voice of Vean if you want to see all our socials and ways to get in touch. Huge thanks to my brilliant away team for this episode, Lady Vean and John Adams. It's always a pleasure to have you both on board. Vean, I'm guessing that it's the usual place to find you online?
Yeah, Blue Sky, Lady Vean, LadyVean. And please tune in next week because we're going to dial the horny up to 10.
Ooh.
Oh my God. I'm on with two women as well. It's going to be so awkward. But and
strangely
John,
excited by all of this.
I know, yeah. When you're discussing, justifying genocide, why not be horny? But anyway, John, is it the same places to find you online as well?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Writer41, WRITER 41, and on Facebook at John Adams /Phoenix Photography, all one word.
Awesome. That's great. And I will obviously put links to all of that into the episode descriptions. And I'll also put your Blue Sky link in there behind if anyone wants to get there quickly. So, sorry, I'm vamping because I've written the completely wrong thing on the outro to this episode and teased the wrong episode. And Vean has reminded me I'm not recording our next Roll Iron episode yet. We're also, we're going back into more Cardassian territory, back to DS9 and back to another two-hander episode that could be a play in a very similar way to Duet. And yeah, you're not going to want to miss it because there's going to be some deep thoughts, some incredible praise for acting, and from Vean, probably some incredible praise for a few other things. Yeah, do join us for that. And then again, join us for the next two episodes where we will conclude our Roll Iron trilogy. Don't miss any of it. And yeah, until then, remember, morality isn't always as simple as red or blue, stun or kill, Cardassian or Bajoran. But no matter how murky the grey gets, remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, part of the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel. Hit or Miss Star Trek is hosted by Mike Wilson and scripted, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson, based on an idea by Mike Wilson and Will Templar. Follow us on YouTube, your podcatcher of choice, and our social media. Links to all of these can be found by clicking on the link tree in the episode descriptions. This podcast is a Media Matters original production. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast throughout subspace. We'll be back for another thrilling trek through the stars soon, but for now, hailing frequencies closed.
Try to warp out of here at once, maximum speed.